Hello and welcome to another edition of the State Journal-Register Central State 8 podcast. We're here in week 9. We're here at Rochester High School with Rockets coach Derek Leonard. Derek, thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
We got to take a quick break for our sponsor.
Blindsided by Pain, Orthopedic Center of Illinois Walk-In Clinic is here for all of your orthopedic and sports medicine needs. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to noon at 1301 South Cokie Mill in Springfield.
All right. Hey, so you're 8-0. You got somewhat of a big game this week. It's only for a conference championship. Does preparation feel different this week than it does the other 8 weeks?
I think the kids are more focused. I just naturally, obviously, they know what's at stake, and they know it's a big game. I mean, this has been their rival since they were little boys, young kids, and it's kind of been them and Chatham. These are their senior class and our senior class obviously have real good classes, and this has kind of been their rival, and so you could tell the kids just get a little bit more focused. Not that they're not focused. Griffin, MacArthur, Springfield, obviously they focus too, but some of these other weeks it's hard, and and they do a great job. But I think just their focus. I don't think the coaches change much. I mean, we obviously probably hit it harder too, but you try not to change too much. You don't want to get them off their rhythm. You want them to prepare like they've prepared, and we got to take care of ourselves. But I think it's hard to say. I'd be lying to you if I said they weren't a little more excited and a little more focused. Well,
and week 9 always has a little bit more importance anyway, because it's the last chance you have to really clean up any mistakes that you've been making for the first 8 weeks, right?
That's right. I mean, regardless, when you're getting closer to the playoffs, hey, we got to clean up. And last week was a good week for us because we cleaned up some stuff with us and tried to get healthy, got David Yogers back, and just try to do some stuff to help us get ready for the playoffs. Because the ultimate goal, we want to be conference champs, so we'd love to be undefeated. But our number one goal is to be state champs. And so we knew last week was a good week for that, was to really look at ourselves and say, hey, what haven't we done well? And or what positions or whatever it may be schematically, and try to work on that. And so that was a good week to have that. And then this week, man, just obviously hit Chatham hard.
And you touched on something that I wanted to ask you. Every coach wants to win every game that he coaches in, but you guys love the conference championships. You guys have gone 14-0 before, but you guys don't rely on the conference championship. A conference championship doesn't dictate whether or not you can be successful in the postseason. And I understand, we've got some really good 5A schools and some really good 6A schools in this conference, but you don't see a lot of state champions that aren't conference champions.
Right, and that says a lot about the conference. I don't know how many. I think we've been 4 years, and obviously, we have 7. So, 3 of those years we weren't conference champs, and so it does. Yeah, like I said, our number one goal is obviously we want to be state champs, and the second one would be a great conference championship, and we want to be conference champs. But we know in this conference there's some years. Some of those Gabe Green teams. You go through the list of teams that we've had to go through. That were better than us, and so, but that doesn't mean we couldn't make a run. Last year, I thought we got better as the year went on. We were a young team, kind of reminded me of Griffin this year, where they've gotten better. We got better last year, and made a run, and semifinals was a good year, and we didn't win it, but we got better as that year went on, compared to, I would say, to that Griffin and MacArthur game early on in the season. And so the big thing as a coach, as everyone will tell you, you want to get better. You want to be playing at your ceiling come playoff time, and
every game's got to be better than the last game.
That's right, exactly. And so the teams that win and the teams that succeed in the playoffs do that pretty well. Now, hey, you had some bad games, you got some weather and things, you have certain things that happen, and sometimes you just don't play well. Hey, they're 17-year-old kids, and so, but you should be peaking. You should be playing better than you were, say, week 3 or 4. And so this game, obviously, being week 9, a lot of times I don't think we've ever had. There might have been one Griffin game that was week 9, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that maybe this was the case where it was a conference championship going in the last game. And I think those Gabe Green teams, so I don't think we won. But
I think you guys were up late.
Were we? Yeah, out of Mansfield. There's
I
been
think
so
it was
many. I don't
think
remember.
it was a 29-26 game.
Okay,
if I
yeah. So
remember.
it's been a while, and so you don't get usually the conference championship last week. Man, 2 number 1 ranked teams, this is kind of a crazy situation and sometimes it's good because sometimes it's not great to be. This is going to be a physical game, and it's going to be a tough game, and so sometimes you don't want to go banged up into the playoffs either. I would say that's the only negative, but it's also a positive that we get to see a great team regardless, and they're going to see a great team before they get in the playoffs and we get in the playoffs, and so then hopefully we can all make a run.
A lot of the personnel on this team is these 2 teams, Glenwood, Rochester. They met last year, also in Week 9. You guys went in 7-1, were able to beat them. How do you expect this game to be? Any similar? Any differences?
Yeah, I think it's going to be different. A lot of different. I think we were both young, like you said, man. These were 2 probably kind of the same teams. Obviously, they had some real good players that were seniors. We obviously had some real good players that were seniors. It was at our place. Man, it's just a different feel this year, and just they have so many good players, seniors. I don't know how many they have, but I know it's a great class, and they got a great team, and Coach Hay does a great job, and so it just feels different, And I don't know why last year didn't feel maybe wasn't quite the hype, And like I said, just the storyline of this year, them being ranked number 1, us being ranked number 1 now, and just everyone's kind of predicted this happening. It's kind of went as planned. Last year some things didn't go. I think Chatham kind of didn't surprise people, but and
I think to the outside observer, a lot of people
maybe
were
correct, and I knew they were a great team and people. But so what this year, everyone's it's Chatham, Rochester, and that's what it is, and so it just has a different feel. But hey, a lot of the kids are the same, and.
So those Glenwood kids are really going to be up for it because they remember last year.
There's no question. I told our guys that it's the Griffin games seem to go that way. Every time we beat them, the next year they come back and then they beat us and we come back and play hard. Because it's kind of you remember that all year. Me and Justin were just talking about 2009 and losing to Metamore, and I remember our kids that next year were so much more motivated because it was like, man, we got to do this. And so I imagine they have a lot of that factor, And I imagine they're bigger for, hey, they want to be conference champs just like we do. So when it's all said and done, we're motivated too. They're motivated. And like I said, it's going to be a great game.
And last year, with you guys winning to split the championship, it was kind of unique. And, Glenwood lost the game and there was just probably disappointment on their end losing. At the end of the game, though, they were still quote conference championship or champions, but this one's for the outright title, and this is really a lot of fun. So let's kind of pause and kind of go towards, you mentioned earlier that David Yokers came back last week, and I know he didn't have a lot of carries, but it had to be nice just to see him back out on the field.
Yeah, no, it was, and then no one had a lot of carries. DeRose, just because how the game went, and he just got over early, and so we got some subs in, and you try to take with running backs. You try in games. You try to take runs off of them. Because some games, hey, DeRozier could run the ball 20, 30 times this game. Yogi could run. You know what I mean? So when you can lay the running back a little bit, and you see it a lot in the NFL when a team gets your second guy in, and we were planning on running them both a little bit more. Obviously, it just didn't go that way, and but it was good to get him back playing. He's been practicing for 2 weeks, obviously, and so getting him back in that game shape and just playing in a real game was nice.
You're outscoring opponents 56-18, or in that ballpark. Beaker's got to be happy with his defense, and you've got to be happy with your offense, huh?
Yeah, it's been a good year, and we have there's been some up and downs. There's certain games where I thought offensively we just didn't play well, and there's some games defensively where we didn't think we played well, and so. But overall, man, in this conference, for those to be the numbers, and to be where we're at, this is because I really. And
you gave up a lot of points to Eisenhower too, and that's
no question. Yeah, there's been some games we
points.
gave up. Yeah, there's been a few games like that where we've given up some points, and there's just the conference this year. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks. Me and Dad were talking about this. You look at just the whole conference, and you don't really know because it's a close conference. We don't go out and play anyone non-conference, so you can always say, well, it's good, it's not, until you get in the playoffs. Sometimes you don't know. But I really think this year is one of the better years we've ever had because I think I think Jacksonville, obviously Springfield High, MacArthur. Southeast is a 1 and whatever, and I'm telling you, they're not that bad of a team. I remember playing their first game thinking, man, this team is pretty good. But I think it's just been one of those years. U-High has got much better, and you just look at the list of people, and Lanphier, Donnie's gone through a bunch of injuries, and the Eisenhower coach has done a great job, and he's just, man, he's trying to get through, and I get it, and he's done a great job. But outside of them, everybody, I'm telling you, is not that bad. And so it's been a hard year in the conference.
And whatever Southeast finishes 1-8, 2-7, it's gonna be the best 1-8, 2-7 team probably this conference has had.
I wish they were talking about that new playoff format where 2-7. I would love to. Yeah, no, if they got in the playoffs, I'm telling you, they went to go play somebody else. And not that they would win. I don't know if they played a 7-2, but if they went and played another conference, whether down south or wherever, and I'm telling you, they would have a chance. I really think the first game, like I said, I think they're thin a little bit, and but coach, I'm telling you, they're better than that, and it's just the conference is that good, and people don't understand. It's hard to get 5 wins. You win 5 wins in this conference, you deserve this year especially, and every year. You deserve to make the playoffs. And sometimes the problem is you get banged up and you go up north and you play a 9-0 team and then you get beat. But look at MacArthur last year. I mean, they kind of went on a little run, and Chatham should have beat Crete, and they were up in the in the state champ. Weren't they in the state championship? Yeah. They were in the state championship. So I mean, you look and you go in the past, and
a few years ago,
look at everyone who's lost to state champ or been in the state championship. I mean, it happens all the time. So it's.
And a few years ago, Jacksonville went in 5-4, played 9-0 Centralia, and walloped them. I mean, that thing was a 35-point game.
And I think he's beat Metamora before. I think he played Marion. I mean, that's exactly right. And if somehow, Jacksonville get in the playoffs, same thing. I mean, they can make a run just because it's like I said, you get into it, and sometimes it's a bad draw, but sometimes it's not. And most of the time, I don't think people match up with this conference.
You have 150 wins. Plus now in your career. How's coaching changed since win 1?
Oh boy, our situation's changed a lot. My situation has too. I have kids now, and oh boy, so it changed a whole bunch. The kids don't change. The kids day one when I went 3-6, I love those kids, and I don't forget any of those kids because man, it was, you talk about hard times, and but they believed in what we were doing. They believed in me. They believed in a future, and that's hard. That's hard to see when you are that age. You got a new guy coming in, you're going to struggle, and just the slow process, and we were just talking about that, the Sean Robinsons, the Will Luntz, the people, the Zach Grants, the people that just you have and just believe in all those teams, and those are just specific kids, but, kind of leaders and the people that get you to this point. I mean, you never forget those kids, and so the kids haven't changed. I think obviously who we are and what we have has changed. We probably don't have I miss some of those times. I really do because, man, I like the, little old Rochester. If this game was being played in 2005, it would have been, oh, man, we're going to the big land of Oz of Chatham. They're triple our size, and I would have been all, it would have been, man, you know what I mean? And that's, and we still are little old Rochester, but we don't think like that anymore, and I kind of miss that. And
people don't think of you as that way.
No,
either,
people
with
don't.
7 titles.
It's totally changed, right? I mean, but you look at some. I remember talking to Rupert. I remember, we were going to be like Taylorville and all, all those things. And but I miss those times because, man, that fired me up. That got me going, and we use that. And hey, it's fun for me. It's fun for the coaches, but like you said, we don't think of ourselves like that anymore. And sometimes, so that would be the only thing I think is the kids haven't changed, things haven't changed. I love it, and the kids still work as hard as they ever had. But obviously, yeah, kids, you name it. I'm 39 now, and I was 24 then. So times have changed in that way.
What you played football. You've coached football for a lot longer than you played. Did you enjoy playing more than you enjoy? I mean, was there a thrill of? I mean, a lot less responsibility. I mean, you have a lot on your shoulders as a coach. Was the sport itself more enjoyable as a player or now as a coach?
Wow, that's a good question. It was definitely different. I probably, man, I enjoyed playing more. I love playing. I still, man, if you gave me a chance, I'd probably go out and do it. But I was the quarterback, and so I still thought, so maybe if I played a different position, not against anybody else, but quarterback is a different position because I played baseball, I pitched, I played catcher, I was a point guard in basketball. There's nothing like being the quarterback because there's such a mental process each play. Clay's got to do he's got to think like I think. And if he doesn't, we're in trouble, right? Because what I'm telling him through a play or through whatever I'm trying to tell him, because I can't physically be out there and tell him, he's got to then process and then translate into the play. And that's hard. So Clay has to think like me, and so as a quarterback, I think, and as a coach, they're very similar, and so I loved playing. I loved Illinois College. I loved that part of it. I love Griffin, obviously, having that, because those were two different places now, and I think I learned so much, obviously, from Dad, from the whole Griffin experience, the tradition, how things are supposed to be, how you do things. But then IC, it was like, I think Sports Illustrated, we were the worst program when I got there. It was the worst program in all of football, D3 to D1. And so, but man, it was some of the greatest times because we had to find ways to win. I was with guys, so many of those guys are coaches now, and just great guys, Patrick Bowman, Shorty, you go through the list, Ryan Van Aken. I mean, the people that, were Illinois College people that now are coaching, and things we had to do to try to win football games. And man, it was fun. But it's two different things. Like you said, I don't know what else I'd be doing because I want to be competitive, and I like the strategy. I like thinking about those things. I like. So, but I'm not physically playing, and that's the biggest difference. So that is tough, and I think that's where a lot of people struggle in life, because you see all these NFL guys or NBA, or they get out of it and they become depressed. And a lot of it's because, number one, they miss competition. They're not in coaching. They miss the camaraderie of the team. And so they're away from family. They're away from organization. They're away from, things that, and all of a sudden they leave that, and people struggle with it. And
it's all you've known for.
It's all they've ever known. And people want to blame a lot of other things. But I'm telling you, it's that a lot of times is people get away from what they know, and a lot of times it's just organized. And hey, some people need that in their lives. A lot of people do. Hey, we're like that. Hey, I got to be at work at this time, and this time. And some people get away, and they don't need the money, or they don't. And so all of a sudden it's like, and so it changes their lives, and they get whatever. So I don't know what else I'd be doing but this. But I know I answered that question for a long time. I'm rambling. I told Jackson I wasn't going to do that, but yeah. It's,
and speaking of coaching, you're back as an assistant basketball coach this year, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes.
You took a few years off. Did you get to do much in the summer with basketball? I know you've got so many other responsibilities.
Yeah, I did, and I told him that. I said. And Tony's a good friend, and Coach Miles is a good friend. They're both great guys, and he is hard with kids. I love basketball. So I loved coaching it, and I coached it when I didn't have Blake and Austin, and so me and Lindsay, hey, it was just me and her, and she liked coming to the game. She loves, thank God. So I did it, and man, I got away from it, obviously, with Blake and Austin. It is hard. It's gonna, I told him I'm going to be there and I'm going to help, but there's going to be times I'm going to have to be gone and do things but I want to, I want to see this. I want to see the program. I want it to be successful, because it's tough. It's hard. It's the opposite in basketball. We're the opposite. Hey, man, you're going against Lanphier, Southeast, Chatham. It was Lincoln. And you look at these teams, it's like, man, how do you get these wins? And so you got to get kids to believe and get them out. And, hey, does that mean they're going to be, right now they're going to win the conference? No. But we can be more successful. We can win. And I think Coach Mosh was putting it in the right direction, and I think Tony will keep going in that direction and finish it and get this thing where it's, hey, where they're winning some games and they're respectable.
And every Rochester team has had football players on it, so it's not like they don't have a will to win or they don't know how to win. It's just, I mean, so they've got that. They've got a base there.
No question. And I hate when people, because I'm like I said, I love basketball. I really do. I mean, when it was playing, it was close which one I liked better. Anyone who knows me and knows me from back in the day knows I loved both sports. And so I tell our guys, I said, man, go play basketball. And hey, right, it's been. And a lot of people say, oh, football doesn't want they practice one sport all year round. That's just not true. And some of it is you go out there and watch some of these kids play basketball. Some of them are terrible, and it has nothing to do with, hey, well, I don't care what sport they play, they can't put the ball in the hoop. Now there's some kids that should be playing. You know what I mean? But it's not like kids. There are some kids walking the hall that can athletically help you, but you got to put the ball in the hoop. And so some of it is, hey, getting the right people out and just getting those people to work hard. But when it comes down to it, hey, you're playing great teams. And so there's going to be some years Rochester's going to be down. Hey, how long has Griffin been not won a regional? I tell people that all the time. Think about that. I mean, and they're a football school, but it's going against Lanford, Springfield, Southeast. I think it's 35 years, something crazy. And there's a reason. It's because, hey, it's great competition, but I think Tony will do a great job, and they'll get the kids out that should be playing, and that there are kids. And you got to get the few kids out that are good, that can compete, and you got to get them out and play. And
it's a small school, so clearly
there's less kids.
There has to be a lot of, multi-sport athletes, but I always like to see those multi-sport athletes, and I think that it really benefits any size school, whether it's at Chatham, which is very large. I mean, look at Luke Leonard.
Look at all those kids. Hansborough, all of them. I mean, those are good players. I mean, you watch them play everything, and that's exactly athletes, right. Yeah. Some kids are just great athletes, and you go through the list. We've had some. I think Jack Friedwald is going to be one of our best, but he's a football player. The Blake Gans of the world, the kids that I just love that were, played all sports, Will Lunt and people like that. There are some, but we have, and also when you boil it down, we have 750 kids in the school. Chatham, Springfield High, they have 1,300, 1,200. So and when you're only talking about 5 kids, they're the best 5 kids. And Lincoln's a different animal. I always say, when you have that many elementary schools. So that if they say I don't know how many they have, 4, and that means they have 20 starters coming in. Our junior high, we have 5, and they all run the same offense. So even if you get one kid from each team as a freshman, they come in, they got 5 good players, and that have played big minutes. Where our kids, hey, it's 5 kids, maybe 3 of them really like basketball, or 2 of them were just athletes that came, whatever the situation. So, sometimes, so you got to look at some of that. Coach Alexander is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I'll say that. I think he is what he does, and I've always respected and envied him from the basketball side of it. And but when people talk, I tell people, I said, man, could you imagine having 20 starters coming in from 8th grade? I mean, that you talk about an advantage. So sometimes, hey, it's numbers. But hopefully, yeah. Long story short, I'm coaching, and hopefully, I know Tony will do a great job. He ain't gonna get much help from me, but I'll see what I can do.
How much attention are you paying to the Chicago Public Schools strike? Because it could have big impact on postseason football.
A lot of guys up there, the Susie, Edgy Tim. I talk to those guys a lot. They're, people I actually consider friends. They've been, and so I text. They'll email me and they'll keep me up to date because they know, man, we're fairly close to the 4-5-8 line at times. And usually we're always going to be 4A, but man, the strike, you feel bad for those kids at this time. That's just something you hope no kid has to go through. But hey, you get it to a part. Hey, there's a lot of sides to it, and I don't, that's a whole different subject, but it does affect it. It's gonna, man, some of those teams are gonna be 4-win teams, 5-win teams, semi, and you feel bad for them. They couldn't find out. And so if they don't play 7 games or 8 games, whatever it is, they're out, and they're one of the best teams in the state of Illinois. And so you do feel bad. You understand. It's going to affect it. I think if it goes till this afternoon, I think it's over for them. Week 9 is. And then I think the IHS, I heard, will still get the teams in that qualify. But there's a few teams with 4 wins or 5 wins that may not have enough playoff points that probably will get X'd out because of it. And that's sad. You don't want to see that ever.
Well, and also after a layoff, you have to have X number of practices.
And that's
too,
why I think
right?
today I saw is man, if they don't have practice today, that means there's a 7-day layoff, then they'd have to have 3 days of practice by rule, and obviously you're not gonna have 3 days of practice before Saturday. So I think that would be it for week 9, and so that would get cut. And so now again, I mean that's where the 4-win teams, man, can't get 5 wins. That's where the 5-win teams lose all their playoff points if they played all Chicago teams. They're probably out. So now you get into the whole, hey, there might be some 4-win teams get in the playoffs this year. I mean, it'll probably drop. I don't know the situation. I haven't looked into it that much. I know Susie and those guys said there will be some situations where, man, some teams get in or don't get in because of this. But, man, like I said, you feel bad for some of those kids because that's a bad way to go down.
And I did a podcast last week with Roy Gawley, and as a Springfield public school teacher, they're sort of facing possibly a month or two down the road, a strike. And I just wanted to make sure with him, like, hey, this might not affect your playoffs, will it? And he said, no, if, anything were to happen, it would be after playoffs. So.
Yeah. And that's bad. You don't want to see that
No.
Because then it affects basketball. It affects everybody at some point.
And my wife's a teacher. I mean,
That's
I clearly
exactly right.
wouldn't want her.
And I get the point what the teachers are doing. I get, and I haven't looked in that situation at all. So you try not to count. You know what I mean? It's hard to ever say anything. No, I understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you don't know where it stands. But you feel bad in all cases. You feel bad for everybody because, man, it's just one of those situations that it's never good while it's going on, and so while it's happening, this is bad. This stinks for the kids. So I understand that side of it for sure.
You've got a really good senior group. Chris Korwitz, he's been injured. What's his status?
Man, we're real close. He went to the doctor Monday, and so he's been out there. We'll see. Right now he's questionable. We just got to see, where he's at and see if he's ready to go for Friday. But it's close. He is very close.
And David Yogurst, as we said, came back last week after a leg injury that kept him out in the first 7 weeks. Just getting one game under his belt. You expect him to be better this week?
I do, yeah.
Even look better, right?
I mean, he's going to be a huge part. I mean, I tell people, and DeRozier's been great, but, Yogi was our all-conference last 2 years. He was a starter as a sophomore, on a state championship team. And so to get him back was huge. And he can play everything. He can play running back, receiver. He's going to play some linebacker, DB, special teams. I mean, it's great to have him back. Now you feel like you got 2 running backs. And with Tiemann, we got 3, and so you feel good. Man, we feel good about that going into the playoffs.
And, Clay Bruno, second-year quarterback, he's completing 67% of his passes, 30 touchdowns, three interceptions. I mean, those are really good numbers.
Crazy. I think he almost gets underlooked because I think people just assume you really look at those numbers and you look at, man, what they are. And if people just took it as the numbers, because I think he's like second in the state, I think he gets undervalued sometimes. I don't think he gets talked about. I mean, to be doing what he's doing and the season, and you just, like I said, you just look at the numbers and you don't say, hey, he plays for Rochester, because I think people just assume, oh, those are the numbers. It's like being the Texas Tech quarterback or the Washington State quarterback. Oh, those are the numbers they put up. And I think that's unfair because every kid, except for one kid since 2005, we've had, 7, 8 Division I kids. And that's, hey, I'd love to take credit for that, but those kids have obviously some ability because those guys are given full scholarships to go play football. And I think Clay's right up there. Clay might have the best arm. I mean, he's up there with Wes Lunt and Nick Baker. I mean, he has one of the strongest arms I've ever been around, and he's a good athlete. He's a great kid. I think he's going to be a great coach one day because he can. He's the game slowed down for him. He thinks like a quarterback.
And as you said, he has to think like you.
He does, and as from last year to this year, he's been so much better. And like I said, I think he's going to be a great coach one day if he wants to be because he gets it. He loves football. But I think he's just been – it's funny how people don't get talked about. And some people do, and some people, and I get it. But I think the poor kids when you look at those numbers, exactly what you said, I mean, those are crazy. And part of it is because of him.
I took over for Todd Engel during your second state championship run, I think in week 8 of the 2011 season. One thing that is not part of the Rochester name currently – it's not been often, but you're not the defending state champions. Yeah. 3 years ago when you guys were not defending state champions, it felt very motivated, especially that. I mean, you got to face Althoff again, sort of as a redemption game, and it was very. I don't know if I've been around more intense games than that one. Do you feel that same motivation from your kids?
Yeah, I think it's a that was a weird, because of how the Althoff thing went, and we did not like Althoff. At the time and I respect Coach. It wasn't, man, but it was, we wanted payback. We wanted to win, and so that game was that. I've never been in a game in all my life of that kind of. I've been in the Griffin 2010 game. This game will be big, but there's not that. Man, that game was different. I can't explain to people, and you were there, and it felt different. And this year, I think these kids are motivated for sure in a different way. They know they're a special group. They know. I think they love each other. They just care for each other, and so I think they just want to do it and prove that, hey, this is who we are. And again, hey, we could get in a game where it doesn't go our way. And that's what I tell people. I can't tell you the kind. One day I'll think about it, the run we've been on. But sometimes, even that Bishop Matt game, finally, it was a bad weather. For 8 years, we really didn't have a bad weather game, which is crazy. Now, we had some windy games, but in the mud, that game just wasn't our game. And that doesn't mean they wouldn't have beat us in a nice field. I'm not saying that. But it wasn't what we wanted to play in, clearly, that year. And so it was but there's motivation. There's no question. These kids they feel bad for last year. They want to do it for the seniors last year. But I don't think it's quite like the Althoff year. It's just two different situations and feelings, I guess. But it's the same. They want to do it, and they want to prove it.
And that Althoff game, it was so weird, too, because your bench was in front of the Althoff crowd. I mean, so talk about a really
everything
charged.
About that game. We were just talking about everything about that game. Is weird. Everything, because the old Althoff, we were talking about when we used to go with Griffin and play, because that was a yearly. We were always on the other side. We were always against the railroad. It was a different, man. They had walls in the end zone. It was like you were literally playing in you don't know. I don't even know where. It was terrible. But but now they put you on there. I mean, the whole thing, the people on the end zone, and I mean, you were there. I mean, standing room only everywhere, and everyone's right on you. It's not like here where people are back off the track and. Yeah. And it's their fans, and so it was brutal. I mean, it was people that were there. No, it was not good. It was not a good experience, and so for beating them that game, that was one of the definitely top games. And anyone who was there, it was just a different thing. It was a different feeling, and that was their super team. We were really good that year, and so it was kind of like this, where people just knew, or they thought they knew, this game's going to happen at some point. And, hey, this game, hey, it's a conference championship, 2 undefeated teams, and obviously it's a conference game. It doesn't have the implications of, hey, you're not going to the state championship, you're out, you're done playing football. So it doesn't have that. So it's never that bad, but it's still a big game.
2 days from now, play your Week 9 game for a conference championship. 3 days from now, you learn your playoff opponent, first round, find out what kind of path you may have to the state championship, and then 6 or 7 days from that, you got your first game. So it's going to be a whirlwind now for you guys here at the Rochester Football program. So we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Yep.